Welcome to the Tech Byte on creating user-defined tabs in the biographical system. I'm Beth Elliott, and today we're going to be going over how to set up those user-defined tabs to make it easy to get in that additional information that you're tracking at your school. So you start by logging in as either the administrator or someone who acts on the user accounts themselves, and you can go in under Admin to User Accounts. Once in here, you can come in and look at your different users and go to Edit User Template. In here, there is a User-Defined tab, and when you click on it, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to load up the information for the various tabs. If you had just created a new user, it would have had a setup and then tab number 1 through tab number 12. To change the labels of the tabs, you come down below and you fill in those labels. There's a question here of whether the user may change the user-defined settings, which means they can change the labels of the tabs and they can change the data that's in the tabs. But they're not going to be able to change the status of those tabs. So whether it's a disabled tab or a read-only tab. By default, with neither of those items checked, the tabs are read-write and therefore data can be changed in them. If you are allowing them to work with that or you're setting it up for yourself, then you want to choose your database, and you do that by clicking the 3 dots. It's going to build a list of the databases that are set up for your user. You can highlight the one or you can load the database, and then you click OK. If you have fields because you changed your database that are not in the new system, it's going to tell you that when you go to save it. So you can set up a description. Because we now have 12 tabs instead of 6, it's going to display about the first 10 or so characters. So you might not want to get into a real long description of your area. You might want to adjust that heading a little bit smaller. But you can go into each tab and specify what you want to work with. So for all of these, there are 2 columns of 10 fields with labels. You can put in a label and then put the field that goes with it. You can modify this information. We are now up to 12 tabs instead of 6, 20 fields each, which gives you the ability to have an additional 240 fields of data that you can work with. Now, information that you're here, some of these are your general user-defined fields, but you can also work with contact fields if need be. And it's just a matter of for things like the disaggregate groups. You can put in, say, economic disadvantage instead of ED stat, so you can make the label a little bit more descriptive than the field name, because the field names are limited to 10. You don't have to fill in all the fields. You can skip around and leave some space between, and that's perfectly okay. Your disabled tabs, by the way, are going to look like this reapply, where it's not going to be available to them when they're in MMS generations. And it won't show at all if they're in the staff portal, and we'll show it both ways. If the field that you are selecting has valid data selection, then that will become available to the user when they go to put information in. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now, if I was working with a template, I can scroll down to the template. So I have a starter template here. And what that means is when I set up the template, when I apply this template to the other users, it will automatically fill in all the information that I have set up, which makes it very handy for what I want to work with. So if I go ahead and change that 12 tabs per user, the 6 to 12, if I now reapply this template, anyone who has the starter template is going to get the updated user-defined tabs. The thing to be aware of is if you do reapply, that not counting the fact that you can not overwrite these 3 areas, but all the other areas, the information that you've put in here with your what menu items they have, the enable disable menus or the favorites, and the portal setup is now going to go to those users. So just be aware of that. You just click OK. Actually, if I went back into that for just a moment, when I reapply, I have to hit the reapply at the bottom. And it's going to let me know it's going to do that. And then I did it to the 8 members that had that. So it makes it nice that you can make it consistent for everyone to set those up and down. Now, if I log in as my staff member, The other way, because the staff member was given access to be able to change their own settings, they can come in under Admin and go to My Preferences. Within the My Preferences, there's a user-defined tab, and unlike the database access that is not active, my user-defined tab is. It's still going to run through and set me up for my 13 tabs, but you'll notice I don't have access to the disable or read only. I can change the labels, and I can go to my fields and change the information that's here. So it does give me that option. The list of fields that are here are everything in the EMF, which is the Student Master Table. The EMA is the Master Table Extension 1. EMB is Master Table Extension 2, and the CON, which is my contact table. If I'm looking for help for setting up these tabs, I can always go to my help screen, and it's going to give me information about doing the user-defined tabs. So it lets me come in and see what's going on. And I have it both under my user-defined tab area, the My Preferences, or it's going to give it to me when I'm in under my user accounts. So I can do it in both places. And in the user accounts, I can come in and go to the user-defined tab where it gives me a little bit more information. But either one of those, it gives me the ability to go in and work with it. Once I have logged in and I have opened my database, I can go into the biographic area. And when I look at the student biographical editor, I have my user-defined tabs. And in here, it's letting me see that I have the 12 tabs per user. Because I'm in generations, it's letting me know that this tab is read only. But I can come in and look at the different tabs and see the information. Now, these are just straight fill in the information that's here, say with my extracurricular. But when I get into my disaggregate groups, I'm going to start having my drop downs that I can use, which makes it easy so I get consistent information that I'm always uppercase or mixed case or however I want it to be. I'm going to close this out. Under Admin is the Valid Data Selection Table Editor, and that's where I would go to make those drop downs. The Data Field Maintenance is where I would go if I wanted to add a new field in for information I now want to track. If I come into the Staff Editor, I can come into under Students, Student Profile. And in here, when you first come in, it's a straight view. I'm going to collapse everything, and then I'm going to show the auxiliary details. And the auxiliary details is going to show me all of the tabs. It'll have an N/A for not available if it doesn't have any data in that field. But as I come across, I can see things like my math proficiency in the 11th grade of what they had. So I can see that as I come across. So it's just a matter of what do I have filled in. If I scroll up, and you'll notice that the Special Ed tab isn't here because that particular tab for this user was disabled. So it doesn't even show it to them. If I scroll back up to the top, I can hit the Edit button, and that allows me to edit this student. And if I collapse and then show the auxiliary, when I'm in here, the tab details isn't here because that was a read-only tab. But now that I'm in the other area, I can just fill in the information. So if I now have my science and social studies grades, I can just type them in and see what information is here. And that applies to all of the places coming across. So things like the disaggregate group, I can look at my economic disadvantage and see my free, reduced, or neither. Or I can come in to add new if I needed to add to that, because this list was set up so that I could add from the editor. But that's how you set up and use your user-defined tabs. We thank you very much for participating and hope to have you at another Tech Byte.